Rank or Jank. Rank or Jank. Hey, welcome to Rank or Jank. This is the first video. This is going to be a Magic the Gathering YouTube channel. I want to talk about decks that I play, cards that I find interesting, cool budget alternatives, and also want to do like semi vlogs, going to game stores and just showing you guys like, hey, this game store is here. If you don't know about it, go to it if it's close to you. Obviously, I can only go to so many stores in my area, but I plan on going further out all over the US. I feel like that'd be pretty cool just to like give more options to people. You can always buy from like Wizards and Magic themselves, but if you can support local game stores, I feel like this is like super common in the hobby space, which I think is super cool. After that being said, for the first video, I'm gonna do like a little bit of everything that I wanted to do. Doing a vlog of this game store that I went to. So I'm going to be doing a deck review of a deck that I played at the game store. I played Sauron the Necromancer. If you just wanted to see that, just go ahead. Timestamps right here. And then I'll show you guys like budget options that I chose, or just like neat cards that I think are just cool that you should run in your decks if they work. Anyways, so for this first section, a good buddy of mine works at this game store called Blue Ditto in Reisterstown, Maryland. Here's the address. Here's like their logo. They're cool dudes that work there. Every time I go in there, I have a good experience. Recently, my buddy that's been working there has been inviting me over to play some games after they close. So that's been super hype. Since he invited me to play and I knew I was going to be going, I figured I'd start the channel. I took some recording while I was there, so I'll give you guys a little preview of Blue Ditto and enjoy. So here's a Royal Farms right here. I came in through this way. The game store is right up there. There's this alleyway right across the street from the Royal Farms, and that's how you will get to the game store. You could also go in right here. Here it is, Blue Ditto. Right when you go inside, you'll see some bulk Pokemon cards and some bulk Magic the Gathering cards right to your left. I spent some time here before our games and picked up a couple singles I'll show you guys later. They have some pop figures on this table, or shelf, and then along this table I got Pokemon cards and Hot Wheels. Just some other random game accessories, and then they have this playroom in the back, and this is where we played our games of Commander. I'll go over the game in a little bit, and then on this side they have tabletop games like Pathfinder and D&D. These are the singles I picked up. These two I was just looking at. Got them both for 50 cents. I was playing Sauron. One of the guys was playing the In-Spirit and Light Paws, and then my good friend was playing Anti-Venom. I ended up getting knocked out by the In-Spirit to this artifact, which was pretty cool. I've never seen it before. I think it came in the pre-con, I'm not sure. But then Ben ended up winning the rest of the game. Alright, welcome back. Now I'm going to be going over the deck that I played, which was Sauron the Necromancer, not the Grixis Sauron. This one is actually very unpopular. Doesn't even have 1,000 decks right now according to EDH Rec. This commander, Sauron the Necromancer, is a 5 mana, 3 and 2 black for a 4/4 Avatar Horror with Menace, and then whenever he attacks, exile a target creature card from your graveyard, and then create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 3/3 black Wraith with Menace. At the beginning of the next end step, exile that token unless Sauron is your ring bearer. So this deck pretty much wants 3 things. 1, to be attacking with Sauron. 2, to be having the ring tempt me. And 3, to reanimate big creatures. Thankfully for this deck, I have plenty of cards to have the ring tempt me. I had a couple Nazguls sitting around. I'm actually trying to get all 9, and this is going to be my dedicated Nazgul deck. If you just want to build a cool deck for your Nazguls, I think this is a super cool deck. You play your Nazguls, you either reanimate your Nazguls, or you reanimate even bigger creatures. I can take advantage of the ring tempting me, because after the second time getting tempted, whenever I attack with my ring bearer, which is going to be Sauron, I draw a card, then discard a card. So Sauron is giving me access to creatures and cards And with that discard, it allows me to put cards directly into my graveyard, the same attack to bring them out. So I think it's great that he does everything. He puts creatures into your graveyard and then brings them out due to the ring tempting you. And since he's going to be attacking so much, I have a bunch of evasive equipment, so I can eventually take advantage of that level 4 ring of eventually pinging all your opponents for 3, which I think is more impactful than you'd think. I mean, dealing a free 9 damage and reanimating a big demon is super cool just off one attack, off one creature. I think once you get a couple creatures out, it really start to overwhelm people if they're not prepared for it. I want to go over some like all-stars slash favorite cards slash pet budget, just some of my favorite cards I've put in this deck and why. I really wanted to do one of each card type, but I got a couple tied for first. Get the most boring one out the way. I don't think I have any special or spicy or slept on lands in this deck, so I'm just gonna skip. I don't have nothing interesting there. For artifacts, I have God Pharaoh's Gift, Gilded Pinions, and Soul Foundry. God Pharaoh's Gift is a 7-drop artifact that basically does the same thing as Sauron. If he gets removed a couple times, or I land this after Sauron, reanimating 2 things at once, I found that sometimes I can be discarding way too many cards, and just reanimating them one at a time with Sauron can get a little slow. So I have a couple of ways to reanimate other creatures. Gilded Pinions, I think, is a really interesting artifact, and it's very unique for what it does. I think your deck definitely is gonna want it. I don't think it's a staple. It's a 2-mana artifact that when it enters creates a treasure token, and then if you equip it, equipped creature has flying. I think this is great for my deck because it lets me ramp to my commander, and I want my commander to be evasive. So I think if you want those 2 things, I think this is a great budget option. So if you just want to save a buck, pick up Gilded Pinions. And another cool artifact I found is Soul Foundry. When this enters, you can exile a creature card from your hand. You can create a token that's a copy of the exile card. You have to pay X, where the X is the mana cost of that card. Now, I think this would work if you were playing with less Nazguls, if you wanted to stay within a budget, or if you were just in any interesting token deck, this would be pretty cool. And I think I put this in here just to have accesses to more Nazguls. Them having the ring tempt me, and then letting me putting a 1/1 counter on each Wraith I control, which includes the creatures that I reanimate with Sauron. I want as many Nazguls I can have access to. And speaking of that, I'll use this to segue into sorceries, because a cool sorcery I have is Infernal Tutor. For 2 mana, you can reveal a card from your hand and search your library for a card that has the same name as that. Or this card does not work in 99% of commander decks, considering it's a singleton format. But if you have any decks where you can have more of one card, I think this is a cool card because it just lets me get access to more Nazguls. For enchantments, Call of the Ring, I think, is the best card in this deck. If I have a Nazgul out, I get a 1/1 counter on each of my upkeeps. It also gives me some card draw. It's just an extremely good card for this deck. For any deck, I'd recommend Protection Racket. 3 mana, you get an enchantment with, at the beginning of your upkeep, repeat the following process for each opponent in turn order. Reveal the top card of your library. That player may pay life equal to that card's mana value. If they do, exile that card. Otherwise, put it into your hand. Now, I think this is really good for reanimation decks, because the things you're going to be reanimating are 7 mana. And yeah, they can choose to exile cards, but eventually they're not going to want to pay that life, and they're just going to give you free cards. Getting up to 3 extra cards on your upkeep is a super good feeling, or just pinging everybody for a little bit of life is also a really good feeling to start out your turn. So I think this card is really good. Sadly, it's a couple bucks, but I think it's definitely worth a pickup. Now, I don't have any instances that I think are super interesting, but for creatures, I have 3. I have Blood Pet. This is one of my favorite black cards. I honestly need to pick up a couple more copies of it because this thing is just so awesome. It's a black mana dork. Granted, it's only a one-time use, but how many times can you ramp on turn 1 in black? I think this is very good. Next up is Arden the Usurper. Demons you control have Menace, Lifelink, and Haste. And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, exile to one target creature card from a graveyard. If you exile a card this way, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 5/5 black demon. This card is kind of a strictly better Sauron. The only thing about it is that it costs nearly twice as much mana. At 8 mana, this is super expensive, but if you reanimate this, you get 2 things to reanimate creatures out of your graveyard. Additionally, this says any graveyard. So if anybody else is playing graveyard shenanigans, if you just remove somebody's scariest creature, you can take it for yourself, and it enters as a 5/5 black demon. And then for the last interesting creature is kind of a budget alternative to Massacre Worm, and that is Shafet Archfiend. When it enters, all other creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. If you're playing Sauron and you're playing your Nazguls and you're reanimating 3/3s, all of your creatures should be greater than 2 power. So 9 times out of 10, this is a one-sided board wipe for this deck. It also has cycling, so it puts itself into the graveyard without having to use my Ring Tempt discard. I think that's super good for reanimating decks. If there's creatures that have cycling in them, that's always a great consider for budget reanimation. A lot of my removal is focused around big creatures that I can reanimate from my graveyard, such as Overseer of the Damned, Noxious Gearhawk, and one that I've recently been put onto by Reminder Text is Archfiend of Spite. I think this card is incredible. It reminds me a lot of this one Phyrexian card that my buddy plays in a deck that's super good. I think this is an insane effect, and also it's super cool that it has Madness because I'm going to be trying to discard cards so I can reanimate them. I also have the One Ring in here just because I have the card. It's a Sauron deck. The One Ring, it fits. I'm going to have a link to the deck list down below, so if you want to check out this deck for yourself, just click the link and you'll be able to see the whole list. I haven't played this deck a whole lot, but I think I have an extremely well starting point, and I need to give this deck some more tries. But like, I've been on a deck building hinge and built this up, played it twice, and then built another deck, played that twice, then built another deck. So I'm trying to slow down, trying to get better with this deck, see what changes I make. I might put, changes in future videos. But other than that, thank you for watching. I hope you found that game store to be kind of interesting and you go check it out. Again, the name is Blue Ditto. If you have some interesting commanders or neat mono black cards, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to check them out. And if you just like the video, just give a like and subscribe. Thank you.